So the next question I'm going to take is, how does an invention capture process or invention disclosure process work within an enterprise? And the answer that lawyers always give is that it depends, right? So what I find is the larger organizations are more formal, and the smaller organizations don't necessarily need the formality, because as the organization gets bigger, communication becomes more difficult and has to be facilitated. So often you see forms and processes and staffing associated with capturing the innovation. But at the very least, all enterprises should, in a timely fashion, record what their possible patent ideas are, right? And a lot of times it's just taking the effort to write something down, right? You might be in a design review, and one of the questions might be, well, what's new about what you're doing? What kind of problems are you solving, and what technology is involved in that? And then right there, in any design review, you would walk out with 3 or 4 ideas that could be patented. Sometimes it's, as you talk to the salespeople and the marketing people, they're identifying problems that the customers are seeing, and a good engineer or scientist with the problem comes up with a solution. And most of those solutions, if they involve technology, they're appropriate for patent filing. So in the olden days, we would have inventor notebooks, bound notebooks, take notes and so forth. There were good reasons to do them. Really today, everything's electronic. There may be certain exceptions to that, but I'm going to talk today about how you might electronically capture your innovation within an enterprise. So most enterprises have some sort of form at the very least. Typically a Word document or something like that. Maybe it's on the intranet. Maybe it's an Access database. Maybe it's put in some sort of workflow tool like Jira or Salesforce. But there's some sort of form where you can answer a series of questions that helps frame the issue and facilitate gathering the information that would be required to evaluate, approve, and then write the patent application. And those forms can be of many different sizes. I found the larger the form, the less you have engagement. And it really depends. It depends on who your innovators are. I find people that come from an academic background, they have advanced degrees, they're used to writing and describing things technologically. On the other end of the spectrum, when it comes to computer science, they do plenty of writing of code, and the thought of filling out some form is seemingly pretty difficult for those folks. But nonetheless, you have to go about capturing the innovation in a way such that you can get it into some sort of workflow for evaluation, approval, and writing up and filing as a patent. So for a lot of clients, it's just simply a list, right? It's a list of ideas with a little bit of information associated with each one of them. A title, a summary. If there's anything weird, like there's some deadlines or there's a public disclosure that you're trying to get a filing done in front of. Listing who the inventors are, getting their contact information. And then at some point after you've done capturing, some sort of ranking of how important the idea is to the enterprise. And just a simple 1 through 10 scale works fine. And you can have multiple dimensions of that ranking. The 2 that I like, and I just don't like complexity, is how valuable it is to the enterprise, and then how close is it to commercialization, right? Is it in a product today, which would create some urgency and certainly takes away any ambiguity whether or not the enterprise would want to pursue it because they're actually doing it. And then, there's those ideas that are on the roadmap. They're in the process of being developed, they're happening, that sort of thing. It's always better to file a patent before they are released to the public. So those are in a middle category. And then you'll find there's a lot of ideas that are they're just neat. Gee whiz, they're neat. We love this sort of thing. I know we don't have any product in space or any idea of how we might commercialize those ideas, but nonetheless, they're really neat and everybody's excited about that. Well, we'll get to the neat stuff that has no clear path toward commercialization after we do the stuff that's in a product, going to be in the product, and that sort of thing. So those two dimensions is, how close is it to being something that's going to be commercialized, and then what the value is. And the value can have many factors associated with it, right? What revenue it might bring to the enterprise, how useful it might be in license negotiations with competitors. Whatever those sorts of things are that are motivating you to pursue patents at your enterprise, that's kind of how you would stack them up and put together the value. So getting that information, whether it be a simple list with a few details, whether they be short forms or long forms, keeping in mind, if nobody's filling out the long forms, or if you're not getting enough ideas into your funnel for the innovation program, try shortening the form, right? Try giving some training. Try maybe facilitating it. You go to the design reviews and listen, and you ask those questions, and you fill out the form, right? Whatever it takes to get things into the pipeline so that you can evaluate them and hopefully have an abundance of innovation so that you can only spend your budget on the most important of the many, because patents are very expensive and you want to be able to protect the most valuable ones. So I hope that answers the questions. If you have any comments, please leave them below, and don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe and like this video. Thank you.